9.
All right, to your health here today and a breakthrough in understanding one of life's true mysteries. Why do some people need very little sleep? Well, it turns out it has nothing to do with caffeinated drinks or fluffy pillows. ABC 2 News' John McKenzie explains how scientists have discovered that some people are genetically programmed to get by on only a little shut-eye.
Sleep. 8 to 8.5 hours a night. It's what most people need. But for millions of Americans, just getting that much sleep, you must be dreaming.
Roughly about 5.
And do you feel the effects?
Right now, I can't form complete sentences, and I don't know where I am necessarily.
I don't think I've ever gotten enough sleep in my whole life.
Surveys show 30% of Americans sleep 6 hours a night or less. And that alone can increase risks for cardiovascular disease, obesity, and especially memory problems. So imagine the excitement at discovering a gene that controls how much sleep people need. A gene that allows people to sleep just 6 hours every night and to wake perfectly refreshed.
We've known for some time that there's a subset of the population who can function well on less than 6 hours of sleep. We know now that there is a potential biologic basis for that.
Researchers suspect fewer than 5% of people have this genetic mutation, making them short sleepers. But at least now there is a target for one day creating a new type of medication.
The goal here is turning an 8-hour sleeper into somebody who can sleep less than 6 hours with no adverse consequences and thereby increase their productivity.
Raising the question, just what would you do if all you needed was 6 hours a night?
Try to do something a little leisurely. Read the whole paper.
You have to look good too. That's the important thing. If you gotta look good on 6 hours.
Sleep less and look good? Now that's asking a lot. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
Well, it was Thomas Edison, a very bright man, who said sleep is only a habit, but it's a habit we don't want to break. And Dr. Brian Bohner, a sleep medicine specialist at GBMC, joins us. You knew about this breakthrough. We were all pumped up until we heard only 5% really have this, right?
Well, you know, sleep is something that is so relative to all of us. So this is really news that may have impact on many people that have sleeping problems, not because we're going to change the genetic makeup. We understand that only 3 to 5% have that specific gene. But if we can find that there is a biochemical, not just a genetic, but some biochemical expression of that gene, we can actually come up with some medication that you and I, that need 8 or 9 hours of sleep, may be able to benefit from. So this is really going to have impact perhaps down the road just by medications that we can come up with.
All right, doctor, you come up with the sleep law. We should get 8 to 9 hours of sleep every day, and you don't want that broken up. Not 2 here and 6 here. You want it all in one, right?
That's right. We know from sleep diaries 100 years ago, the average American slept for 8.5 hours. We know in our society now the average is 6.9. There's no way in 100 years our sleep requirements have dropped. But as your segment showed, 30% of people get 6 hours, but only 5% really can get by with that. So we really need to consolidate it, and we need to improve the efficiency of our sleep if we're going to be able to get less of it.
How long, you were just talking, you can't catch up on sleep, or can you?
Well, a sleep debt is something that most of us accumulate over years. And the only way you can pay back the debt is to accumulate more sleep. So if you're, for instance, a short-term sleep-deprived person, Monday through Friday, you have the weekend off, you can catch up on weekends. And as long as you're paying back hour for hour that debt, you eventually will be basically fairly rejuvenated from that process.
What do you say to people who say, I don't need sleep. I'll just take a nap here?
Well, we have in our sleep clinic a lot of different complaints, but sometimes it's the spouse or the family member bringing the person in saying they're sleepy. So sometimes we don't recognize how sleepy we are. That's why there's a lot of traffic accidents, and a lot of this really we found in these 2 women who had the genetic gene that they really have a improved control of their biologic clock so they can stay awake and not just say that they're staying awake.
And doctor, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we've got about 9 people, and I asked them right before we got out of the commercial break, how many are tired? It is what, 15 minutes after 9 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, and everybody raised their hand that they're exhausted right now.
Well, you work your staff too hard here, I can tell.
Is that what it is? Yeah, right, that's the truth. But what you find people are tired all the time, even with 8 hours. What is it?
Well, I think that, you know, the National Sleep Foundation their poll would suggest that over half the country is tired. And there can be varying degrees of that, but in probably 20% of the country, they're significantly and dangerously tired, driving around, risk of falling asleep at the wheel. So there are many sleep disorders that can cause that. We know how to take care of sleep apnea, periodic limb movement disorder, different kinds of insomnia, but we don't know how to improve the efficiency. Getting 6 hours of sleep means you've got to spend a lot of time in the deep restorative stages. How do we get into those more valuable stages? Slow wave sleep, also called delta sleep. It's what these women had, and their biologic markers were rarely closely linked to the fact they get the deep sleep, and that's what we need to kind of promote, so that as a society we're going to be able to have something to help us improve our sleep quality, since as a society we're clearly deprived of the quantity of sleep that we need.
You said about a half an hour you can see a difference. If you get that 8 hours of sleep for 30 days, you can see a real big difference.
You can catch up and it can make a difference, yeah.
All right, doctor, we're going to have you
Thank
back
you
in.
for having
I could
me.
talk about this forever. Sleep, sleep, sleep. All right, now let's stay awake. Wake with Susan.
Now, the forecast.